Hi, boys and girls. Today is Wednesday, September 30th, is the last day in September. And during our reading groups today, we kind of stopped and took a break for a moment before we started our book to kind of think about the kind of book that we're reading right now. Now, I know that we have the book of Julius, Baby of the World, but we also want to remember that this is a book we call a fiction book. So you will hear in first grade and other grades the word fiction, which is on this side of my chart, and then we have nonfiction. So I just want to review very quickly, what are some of the things we are going to see in a fiction book? We know that in a fiction book that the story is not real. We know that, for example, in this story, that mice don't really wear clothing and they really don't talk and do the things that people do. Fiction books will use story talk. For example, you might hear a story that starts with once upon a time, or one day long ago. So those are kind of words that you hear when you're telling a story. You also read fiction books to enjoy them. So we can learn from them, but they're sometimes very funny. They may have silly characters in them. And it's usually books that we just want to relax and enjoy with. In fiction books, you have to read the story in order, meaning to understand our story, we have to start at the very beginning, the very first page. If we don't read what's happening in the beginning, we won't understand what's happening in the middle or at the end of the story. The illustrations are an important part of it, but the illustrations may be drawings, not photographs. So usually in fiction books, somebody has to draw or paint the pictures. We think about a beginning and a middle and an end. We think about characters and we think about setting. We think about problems in the story and the solution to that problem. So all of those things that we just went through on this list are found in this book. So even other books that you might know about, any Dr. Seuss books, these are fiction books as well. If you read books about Arthur, these are books that talk that the characters are not real. Right, we could have, this book says Arthur's Sleepover, and you really could have a sleepover, but Arthur isn't a real character. He's not a real man or a real boy, I should say. So this is why it is a fiction book. So because we kind of went over that now, our goal is going to be to start having you boys and girls record or show us the characters, the setting, and events in a story. Now, we've been talking about it for a while, and this is something you even practiced a little bit in kindergarten. But now in first grade, we're going to learn how to kind of show what we know, how to put those ideas on paper. So what I decided to do today is I'm going to just focus on characters and setting today. As I go through the story, I want us to kind of stop and talk or think about who are the characters and where are they. Okay, and as we do that, we're going to add that information to our chart. So I am going to start at the very beginning, okay, and we see that we can see the two characters right here on the very first page, okay? So if I wanted to remember who they were, I would go ahead and stop right here, and then I would write the name of the characters in the character box, okay? So characters are the people or the animals that are in that story. So one of the characters, of course, is Lily, and she's on almost every page of the book. So we know she's important. And we know that Mom is important as well. Okay, so we're going to put Lily and Mom on that list. So as we keep going through the pictures of the book, we can see that Mom and Lily are there again, but now we see Dad. And who is Dad holding? Julius. So let's put Dad and Julius on our list too. Okay, now I'm going to stop there for a minute because so far, where have we seen them, right? Where have we seen Julius and Mom and Dad? Okay, right, in the bedroom, right? Because here's the crib and here is Lily getting, in her bedroom because she shares her room with Julius. So we're going to put the setting as the bedroom. Okay, we're just not going to say home. We want to try to be as specific as we can, meaning, show exactly where they are. All right, so let's take a look at the next page, okay? So in this part of our story, this is where we find out how Lily feels about her brother and how she treats him. Now, we don't see any new characters on this page. We really don't even know where the setting is. So we're going to keep going. Okay, here's the part where Mom and Dad are talking about Julius and how he is the baby of the world. Our characters are still the same, and so is our setting. So we're going to keep going. Well, here is Lily and Julius. And here's Lily in her uncooperative chair. Now, believe it or not, I'm going to put uncooperative chair as a setting because it's not a room, but it is a place in a room that she goes to quite a bit. And they call it the uncooperative chair. Okay. So as I'm going through the book, I'm stopping to do this. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so here we see kind of the same characters again, but it looks like they're in the living room, doesn't it? All right, now I'm going to kind of wait with that a little bit because I don't know how often they go there. So let's wait a minute. Characters again, we have Lily, Julius, Mom, and Dad. Lily, Dad, Mom, Julius. Looks like they're in the kitchen too. So now I'm hearing living room, kitchen. Okay, maybe I need to start writing some of these down. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So they're in the living room and the kitchen of their house. Okay. Well, now we get to this part of our story, and this is where Lily is telling her friends and other people in the neighborhood how terrible it is to have a little baby brother at home, even when she tries to run away. Okay, so we don't really know, these characters don't show up a lot in the story. They kind of just show up on one page. So I don't have to write them down, okay? And they really don't change the story a whole lot. So I'm not going to use those on my map right now. But I can say that she was outside or in her yard because that is a place that it shows. So she was in her yard. Okay. Oh, and this is the part where she has those dreams. So in these dreams, she's still, you see Julius, we see Lily, and there's Julius, and there's Lily. But there's Julius, I'm sorry. And there's the cat trying to catch him. So I'm not sure I'm going to put the cat down because he kind of shows up in one part of the book. We don't see him again. And the cat doesn't really change the story. It's just a part of her dream. So I don't think I'll put that one on our list. So now we're getting to the part where Lily is painting pictures of her family, and she's kind of still not feeling very good about having Julius as a little brother, but Mom and Dad still love him and treat him like he's the baby of the world. Things really have, we still are kind of in the same settings, same characters. And then we get to this part of our story where they have a special celebration for Julius, and they invite family over to their house. Now, we know that all of these people are hovering over Julius because we read that in our story, and all of those people are part of the family. So what I might do is underneath my characters, I think I'm going to write down family members. Those are aunts, uncles, cousins, grandpas. We really don't know exactly all who are there, but we can use the word family members to kind of remember that there's a bunch of people there. Okay. But then there's one family member that we meet who starts to treat Julius just the way Lily did. Do you remember what that character's name was? Cousin Garland. You're right. Cousin Garland starts to say the same things about Julius that Lily was saying. And that's the part where Lily starts to change her mind. So I'm going to add Cousin Garland to our list. Okay. So Cousin Garland is important because she changes Lily. she changes how the story ends. Because I can't help but think if didn't listen to what terrible things Cousin Garland was saying, that Lily might still be saying those things about Julius. But we know from reading the story and listening to the story that Lily changes her mind. And she makes Cousin Garland hold him and shout that he's the baby of the world. So that is a pretty important character right there. So at the end of the story, now Lily and Julius are the best of friends and brother and sister too. So as you go through a book, you kind of pay attention to, one of the things we want to pay attention to are who are the characters that we really seem to make the story what it is. Who are the characters that are in almost every part of our story, or do they change the story in some way, or the characters and what they do? So that's why we put those characters here. The setting is important because we want to see where the stories are happening. So we can see that most of the story does happen at Lily's house, but where exactly is in the bedroom, in her uncooperative chair, her living room, kitchen, and in her yard. Now, what we're going to do tomorrow is focus on an event. Now, events are things that happen in the story, but we want to pick out the most important things that happen in a story. And this is going to help us to find that. So not today, but on Thursday, you're going to get an assignment in Seesaw where you're going to tell us about, you're going to fill in a map like this, but you don't have to use all these characters or all of these settings. So you may just tell me one or two characters, or you might tell me one setting. Okay. You could even draw a picture of what it is instead of writing. But we're going to I want to see if you can make sure that if you draw characters, that your characters look like the character from the book. If you draw the setting needs to look like what it is from the book. Okay. So we'll talk more about that as we go through as we do that lesson, get closer to that lesson. But as you listen to stories more and more, stop and try to think. That could be a question you ask. Who are the most important characters in the story? Where are the most important places, or where are the places that these characters go? And just by asking those two questions, you can understand the story a lot better. All right, so tomorrow we'll finish our map and we'll talk about what you're going to be working on. And if you get a chance, listen to this story again. Okay, bye.